Mommy's cooking, okay?
Oh my god, you know how to cook ugali?
Oh yeah, I cook it every night.
Guys, can you believe it? And you know, here in Bungoma, here in village, like we make very big ugali.
Yes.
We don't use the small pots to make ugali. We make very big ugali.
You have to. That's like the main source of people's meal.
Yeah.
Everyone. It was a church wedding.
Yeah.
And a local. Everyone's local. So the whole church or everyone from church know where your values are, and then no matter what the differences are, if you're going in the same direction, you can reconcile those differences. Yeah? Communicate. If you can't communicate well, then everything falls apart.
Wow.
I know, it's a lot.
Wow, that's actually true. Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Malika and today I'm coming straight out of my village. For those people who might think I'm in the city, nope, I'm in the village. This is my village in Bungoma County here in Western Kenya. I have a very, very beautiful story. A story of a young American lady who moved from America and came to live in Kenya. And she did not just come to live in Kenya, she came to live in my village here in a very, very remote village here in Bungoma County. Her name is Kare Wanyonyi. You're going to meet her, but I'm at her home. So let's go, let's see Kare. Let's meet her and her family, and you're going to understand her story. She's going to tell us how she ended up here. And by the way, she's married and she has a family here. Right now, we are at her family home here in Bungoma County. First of all, before I share with you her stories, I have a small story of mine. Guys, when I was growing up, I was hearing about America, about going abroad and everything. And I used to tell myself, like, when I grow up, I'm going to fly to America, get married to America, have kids there and become very, very rich in America, because you used to think everyone who lives in America is very, very rich. Guys, I saw there's this, of course, when I was growing up, life happened, and that's not what happened, guys. And I came to realize that you can live a good life anywhere that you're living, whether in America, whether in Kenya, whether in Europe, anywhere you can have a good life. Guys, I have a very, very beautiful story that I would like to share with you. Oh, this one wants to bite me. I have a very beautiful story that I would like to share with you guys. A story of a young... Let me just show you what I'm talking about, guys. Rusha, take. So guys, we are in the compound of Kare. Kare moved from America. I don't know exactly how many years ago, but she's going to share with us her story and how she met her husband, how she started a family here in Kenya, here in rural Kenya, and how she's finding it. And in case you have any question for Kare, leave a comment in the comment section below, and also let me know what you would want to know about Kare and anything and what she does. Okay? Yeah, so come with me. So this is her house. This is where they live. This is her family house. We have already been welcomed, guys, so I'm just gonna take you inside. And this place has a lot of rocks. This place is very, very rocky. So this is the back door. That is the back door. We have another door here. And this is it. This is basically it. Come, let's see what's here. There's a motorbike here. So, and she's a farmer. You can tell. She has like a lot of birds. Inataka kuniuma hii. She has a lot of birds. Ona. Kwa nini sasa inakasirika? And this is her home. Yes, this is her home. So come in with us. Oh, come. Samara?
Don't say hi. Say hi. No? What?
And this is Kare. Oh, she's cooking ugali. I've already told them a few things about you. I know they are going to meet you when we make more videos, but we are she already welcomed us to her kitchen. Don't think we are invading her kitchen. She already welcomed us, and I'm glad.
Buddy, Mommy's cooking, okay?
Oh my God, you know how to cook ugali?
Oh yeah, I cook it every night.
Guys, can you believe it? And you know, here in Bungoma, here in village, like we make very big ugali.
Yes.
We don't use the small pots to make ugali. We make very big ugali.
You have to. That's like the main source of people's meal.
Yeah.
What do you say if you haven't had ugali, you haven't eaten today, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing here.
It's a Luya signature meal.
Yes.
Ugali. Every part of Luya. Ugali. Wow.
Albert can be a picky eater, but he loves ugali and he loves gideri actually.
Ugali and
it's part of why we have gideri so much, because Albert loves gideri.
Wow. So you eat gideri?
Yes.
The kids?
I don't eat it as much as they do.
Uh-huh.
But yes.
Wow.
They have it at least 3 or 4 times a week.
Oh, gideri?
Yeah, that's the lunch that they love.
Wow.
Okay, gentle.
Oh, this is yours. This is his.
That's what he's decided. This is hers. And she's decided Talon, the one that was born at Christmas, he's big now.
Yeah.
He said that one's his older sister, June's.
Oh.
I'm Carrie Wanyoni. This is my husband, Albert Wanyoni. We live in Bungoma, Kenya, here in the village of Nyangali. These are our kids, Samara and Zachariah. I don't know if you can see. But we have this nice home here in the village and we're very happy together. We've been married for about 5 years. It'll be 5 years in October.
How did you meet your husband?
After I moved to Bungoma, I got here in the middle of the night. And we were greeted by our whole team. I'm a missionary. I work for a ministry and we do charity work out here as well. But when I first got to Kenya, we drove out here to Bungoma. We were supposed to be here for dinner and we were delayed. We got here at 4:30 in the morning. And when we got here, the team that had prayed for us and our journeys for months before we started was there in our bishop's house. And Albert is one of the team members that was there. At the time, he didn't speak any English. But we went around the room, everyone being introduced to each other. And when Albert was introducing himself, God spoke to my heart and said, "This is your husband." And I realized that's why I hadn't gotten married back in the US, because my husband was here in Kenya.
Wow. That is how you met? For the very first time?
The very first time, and neither of us could speak to each other because we didn't understand the language of the other person. He didn't know English enough to communicate with me. I didn't know any of the other languages.
Wow.
So it was, 3 months? It was 3 months of just kind of being around each other, serving in the same group at church. I knew that he was my husband because God had told me, and he gave me a couple of visions about it later on. And so I just started praying that if I was hearing correctly and if he was my husband, that God would teach him English or teach me Pukusu, one or the other, so that we could communicate. And one day he just came to me and started speaking with me in broken English, but he wanted to speak to me so much that he was willing to conquer that broken English and come out of his comfort zone and start speaking with me. The little that he had, and he learned more and more and more. And eventually we were able to speak fluently with each other in English. Still at our house, English is the primary language in our house, but the kids and everybody else does speak Pukusu and Kiswahili. So it's just kind of me around, trying to learn the rest.
Wow. How long did you date and how long did you decide now it's time to get married to your husband, you know?
Oh, that one's interesting. Actually, typically where I'm from, you can date from 6 months to a couple of years, and a couple of years is usually more traditional. But when God tells you this is your husband, and he told him that I'm his wife, the situation was a little bit different because we already knew. There wasn't this like trial period of like, oh, is this person right for me? Is that person right for me? We just trusted what we had heard. And so we went with, we talked to the parents that we had around and our mentors. And I think within 3 months of starting to talk, then we organized a wedding. We got married October. I had come here in June of 2018. By October of 2018, we were married.
Wow, Albert. How was it for you? Like, I come from a village, just like you, and I know, like in the village, mostly we don't see more of interracial couples. Like, how was it? How did you feel? How was it for you? Like seeing, like, I'm marrying someone from a totally different continent, not even in Africa. Huyu ni mgeni kabisa kutoka nje. Like, and you know, like here in the village, the culture very, very, like here we have so many cultures and everything, and some people hold on to their cultures so much. How did you have any challenges? Like, okay, she has said your parents supported you. Did you have any challenges, like any negative talk from your friends, relatives, or like how was it generally for you?
Sometimes you have for challenges. I hope many challenges more is myself can handle. Sometimes it's hard for him. It's like first time what people like you come for, for American they hear is different for colleges. So like people you come much no call you for phone, you can say why people to have distance not all us. I say no, here is the Africa. Sometimes people you say, oh, I have here for sister can come through and can say hi. So that one sometimes challenges and the mother-in-law for hands, no say or no can you hug mother-in-law, That one.
But what happened at the wedding?
So that one happened for wedding for me, hug him. And
my mom went up and hugged him in front of everyone at the wedding. Everyone, it was a church wedding, and everyone's local. So the whole church, or everyone from church. It's scandalous.
Mind, I feel much. I'm okay every way. Can live. I'm happy.
That is very, very good. You know, some Luya men, some of them are very typical Luyas. And like, I know, like, why the people are surprised at your wedding is because, like, here a mother-in-law and a son-in-law are supposed to like have a distance between them. Even she's not supposed to greet the father-in-law, right? Yeah, I think it's because.
And I have some uncles-in-laws who are very traditional, and they'll stand far away from me and just, And then I have some that are very non-traditional. They'll come up and they'll shake my hand and say like, "How are you, daughter?" His like biological father died when he was 7, so he's not around. But I have like the in-laws who are his brothers and stuff that I've gotten to know them, and some are very, very traditional, and some of them are very non-traditional, and so I've seen kind of both sides of the spectrum there. And even with our own like cultural differences and stuff, I think that both of us have learned in our home to kind of strike a balance with things. I've learned as much as I can to like do things in the local way, but there are certain things to me that are very important as well that he's had to adjust on. Not that either of us have said, I need you to do it this way. It's just that you kind of find a balance over time. You figure out what's important to the person that you love, and you work with them. It's like we were talking about too, where there's certain work. I've worked my entire life. I got my first job when I was 10 years old. I've been working my whole life. I'm a hard worker, but there are certain jobs here in Kenya, the way you do it, my body's not used to it. And so it's very difficult for me to learn like now. And he's always worked with me trying to work out ways that we can do things, even if it's not the traditional way, to work out a way that we can do something so that life works between the two of us.
Nice. I really enjoy like how you relate to each other. That is very. I'm not yet married, so I want to marry my best friend in future.
That's perfect.
So like any for someone like me who is not married, and you're married to like totally different culture, any advice to someone who wants to get married and they are not married yet? Like what did you do? Like what what do you have to look for a good husband? And maybe Albert will also tell us like your secret in finding a good wife.
There's several things. And in fact, I'm a relationship pastor. Part of my calling is relationships, so I have a lot I could say on the subject, but I'll keep it brief. I think one big thing is finding a person who has the same values as you. Whatever you value the most, find someone who also values that the same way that you do. Because if you marry someone with vast differences on the things that you value the most, it's going to create an issue within the marriage. For me, one of the things is like religious beliefs. I had to find someone who had the same religious beliefs as me. I know not everybody sees life that way, but I have a deeply held belief that a person should come together as far as faith goes, because that's the way that we raise our family and it's the foundation of what we live on. So you have to find someone who has the same foundation as you. If they don't have the same foundation, there's nothing to build on. You'll be building on completely different aspects, you'll be thinking differently, and it can just create a lot of issues. One thing I've seen whenever we do have conflict with each other, always think about the relationship when you're in conflict. Like, don't just say something to say it. It's not about winning, and it's not about the exact point that you're arguing over, because that can blow out of proportion very quickly. You have to think about, like, this person here is more important than this thing that we're arguing about. So sometimes it's good to just take a break and pause and discuss it later when you're both not worked up about it, and you can discuss it much more calmly, and maybe you'll come at it from a different angle than you came at it from that caused that argument. It's good to kind of like take a break from arguments if they're getting too heated, so that respect remains, so that love remains. And men and women are different, you know, like men look for respect. They feel loved when they're respected. Women look for love. They feel respected when they feel loved. And so there's that difference there that you have to keep in mind. But as far as finding someone, know your own values. Know what's important to you, and don't compromise on the important things. You can compromise on everything else, but don't compromise on what's really important to you. Because God will bring someone to you that also values those same things. He's not going to bring someone to you that doesn't match with you and you have to try and make yourself match. That's not how it works. So value yourself, value your values, and always be working to be the best person that you can be according to your own beliefs, your own values. Be bettering yourself constantly, and then find someone who's also doing the same, and then you can work together to better your life as a couple, because you're both moving forward. A lot of people who are looking for a husband or looking for a wife put that position up on a pedestal, like, oh wow, this is my husband, this is the most important thing, or this is my wife, it's the most important thing. You should value them, but they shouldn't become like a god to you. You know, you have to keep them in the proper perspective, because if it's the husband or the wife's job to keep you happy, one, you'll never be happy because a person can't make you happy.
Yeah.
But two, you actually aren't going in any direction if your focus is on a person. You're just going towards that person, and you'll become whoever they want you to become instead of walking the walk that you're supposed to have in your life. So it's good to know where you're focused, know where your values are, and then no matter what the differences are, if you're going in the same direction, you can reconcile those differences. Yeah? Communicate, right?
Yeah.
If we can't communicate well, then everything falls apart.
Wow.
I know it's a lot.
Wow, that's actually true. You know, like I think I agree with you on that one. And you're very knowledgeable in that field. Okay, so Albert, how is it like doing life with your wife? How, ever since you're married, like is it life got better, or how has it been ever since you got married to Kari?
It's okay, you can tell the truth.
Okay, let me say, like, no, this life, can say, like, this life is you, husband and wife is you need to come better, is you build together. And sometimes you can have like small argument like you don't know your choice that time, you make it look nice. It's because
Like I have to say this. When I decide to get married, I have to marry myself. I love how the two of you relate.
Thank you.
I really love how the two of you relate.
It's really good to marry your best friend because you know that attraction, it can always be there if you work on it. But attraction to someone doesn't just naturally stay there. It's not like you're 100%, oh, I adore you, I love you so much every single day of your life for the rest of your life. You have to work on that. You both have to give 100%. Like, it's not, I give 50 and you give 50. It's like I give 100% of what I have, you give 100% of what you have, and together we make it work. Like, if if you're not willing to do that, that's where like marriages break up. Even people who do get together who like absolutely are in love, but then they don't put the work in. They think, okay, now we're married, we're finished. It's not work after this. You have to continue to like foster that romance, to foster relationship, like you said, with a best friend, like to have great conversations together, to talk about things you care about, take interest in the other person, right? Like Arsenal. Like, it's not like I have to love Arsenal for him to love me or something. And if I had my own football team, that would be fine. But I didn't have a football team when we get married because I have my own stuff from America. I never really used to watch international football, but I do love sports. And so once I started watching football with him, the pigs are removing the grasses already. Sorry. Once I started, once I got married to him, I didn't have to like football, but when he talks about football, I have to show interest. To be like, okay, wow, and what happened? When you show interest in something that the person cares about, it fosters relationship. So like what was it the other day? I was telling him about a book that I was reading, and I knew he didn't care anything about it. He doesn't know the characters, he doesn't care about the storyline, but I said, honey, I'm going to tell you about this because I have to talk about it because it just wants to come out. I said, this character is frustrating me because he's not acting very nicely towards this one. This is what's happening. And he goes like, oh wow, yeah, that's not good. And I knew he didn't care, but he shows the interest.
Yeah.
When you can show that interest like you would with a friend, that fosters that relationship, and it's what builds intimacy in a marriage. And that's what keeps intimacy alive in other areas too. If you can't have a relationship like here in everyday life, the relationship dies in other places. And like, who wants the relationship to die anywhere, right?
Something else that I wanted to ask Kare, do you have any challenges living here in the village? Day-to-day challenges maybe?
Less than I used to. Some of my challenges that I used to go through all the time was every kind of work that you do here in the village, you're bending over constantly. And my body wasn't used to that. I'm used to, like in the US, we do a lot of work like on countertops and up on like tall tables, and you sit at chairs and you do things. And here, even if I was doing something on my table, it's a table that's down here like a coffee table, and so you bend and you work on your laptop like this, and you bend and you wash the dishes, and you bend and you take care of the fire, and you bend and you cook. Now I have kind of a kitchen set up with a cooker, like a normal cooker, and a stove and oven mix. I have a taller table that I use as a countertop to wash dishes and to prep my meals. We have built like a shelving unit to keep my food in, and we have a refrigerator that was given to us earlier this year. And it's kind of helped me to be able to have less struggles. Like, I can cook easier, I can clean easier, I can just kind of prepare for life in a much easier way. So that is one challenge that's really been overcome this year, and I'm really happy with it. Outside of that, I guess transportation, like where I'm from, ever since I was like 16 years old, even before then, because I used to have a bicycle, if I needed to get somewhere, I could get there on my own. And nowadays, I have to either like find a boda or schedule a time that Albert's not working on something around here so that we can go and get stuff. I'm not as independent to like get on the picky myself, the motorcycle, and go to town. Like, he's taught me how to drive, but I'm not confident enough in driving the bike to go to town on my own. I don't think I would be confident even to go down to Maluki on my own. I would have to have someone with me. I know how to drive a car, but we don't have one yet. So eventually that will be overcome too, but that's one thing. And then everything's just, manual labor. Like everything that you do is manual labor. There's no like automatic like washing machines or when we're digging in the garden, we have to use the hose to do the digging and put the fertilizer, do everything. Nothing's quite as streamlined and straightforward as I'm used to back home. But there's also like a joy to that labor, that once you do have something that's come to you, once you get to eat one of your chickens or sell one of the animals that you raised and make money, or you harvest some sweet potatoes that you planted, there's like a huge reward to all of the work that you put into it. It's almost sweeter what you get out of it because of the work you put into it. So I don't know. There are struggles, but not as much as there used to be. Honestly, I can say I'm much more comfortable now in life, and I feel like I can do my work better and more effectively than I could even last year because of some of the help that we've been offered here at the house. In having those, like the cooker and the refrigerator that people have given us now, I feel like our life is so much more streamlined.
Wow. In terms of food, when she was coming to here, when she got married, was she already used to Kenyan food, or she wanted to eat things from America, or did you have any challenge in adapting to our food? Have you adapted fast yet? And did you have any challenge in terms of food?
Food-wise, Albert has taught me how to cook pretty much everything Kenyan. Although I had a friend who's a cook who taught me how to cook a couple of things here. But I still prefer American food. The biggest thing here is when I first moved in, I didn't have enough money to buy anything that was not just the local stuff. So very quickly, I was only doing Kenyan food because I could afford like maize and beans and tea. We used to get just one box of milk, the small ones, the 200s. We used to get one box of those for the month because of our budget, and that's 21 bags. So we'd have milk for 21 days in our tea, and then for the last several days of the month we had no milk. And that's the budget that we had at that time. We couldn't afford bread for breakfast or any kind of escort. Like, it was just, he's taking up all of your garden. I'm sorry, Albert. Animals, pigs, we're farmers. Anyway, but I can cook like all of the greens now. Typically what I cook at home is the Kenyan things. It's only recently, actually, after getting the refrigerator and the cooker, that I'm starting to cook a little bit more variety again. And once in a while I will cook something that we have in America regularly for my family. Like the other day I made cottage pie, which isn't traditionally an American food. It's European, but it's something I used to cook a lot back home. So I'm starting to bring some of that stuff back in. But I think I created some frustration with him. He never said anything. But the first several months we were married, I wasn't good at cooking Kenyan food yet. And so I would cook ugali and he'd come and it would be like too dry or not all the way cooked or too sticky. And I know that he was frustrated because sometimes he used to come home and he would get grumpy after eating. And he would never tell me that it's because of this. But now that I'm, after I've cooked enough, I can look back and I'm like, oh, I know. I wasn't cooking that ugali the right way. And I took it off the burners too quickly. I didn't know what ugali was supposed to be like at first. So I know he was just very patient with me, right? You can admit it now. It won't hurt my feelings.
You were patient, or you loved the food back then?
He loved me. I can guarantee you that food was not anything to love at first.
Wow.
Even today's food, you guys had it. It was not all the way cooked.
Nice. It was good.
It was good, but it wasn't as good as it usually is. But man, that first one, I know that I made some bad ugali at first. He doesn't want to tell me, but
wow.
It's okay,
That is so good. Thank you so much for that. And something else, maybe like in terms of challenges, healthcare here in the village.
Oh gosh.
And also on that one, if you can touch on, did you ever fall sick when you came here? Because us, when we were living in Nairobi, when we come to the village, you get sick, malaria every time, and they would say it's not and everything. Did you have a challenge with that?
When I first came here, I was very healthy for about 2 weeks. And then I got a fever. And at first it wasn't anything like malaria. It was actually like a hay fever from the pollen from the maize. I have allergies sometimes, and so I got sick after the maize was harvested. But when I was here for like 9 months or so, I got malaria really bad. And I had never had malaria before. You don't grow up with malaria in the US. So I came out here and I didn't know what malaria looked like. And at first it was just dizziness. I was just dizzy. We were walking back after registering for the Huruma numbers when they were doing all of that. And we're walking back from the school, and I'm walking up here, and I stop in the middle of the mountain here. And I tell Albert, honey, I'm really dizzy. And in fact, I knew Kizungu Zungu back then, even from that song. So I'm really dizzy. Like, I can't keep going. Just wait for me for a second. He thought I was joking with him at that time. Now he knows if I say something like that I'm serious. Thought I was joking, but I was so dizzy. And so for the next few days, I was going to different clinics trying to see what was wrong. And they're testing me with that little thing the little plastic one.
Yeah.
And what I found out since then, it can't detect it for like Mzungus, babies that have never had malaria before. They can't detect the malaria because it measures the antibodies. And if you've never had it, your body doesn't have the antibodies for it yet. So everywhere I went, they were missing the malaria in my body. They just kept saying that I was faking sickness. I went to the government hospital even, and I had a temperature of, okay, I can't tell you what it is in Celsius. I know Fahrenheit only, but in Fahrenheit it was 103.9. It was really high. Like if it goes up one more degree, like just a little over 1 degree, you could die from that temperature. Anyway, it was like 103.9, and I had it for some time. And we kept saying, obviously there's something wrong, because you don't get a fever like this without something being wrong. I was sick for so long, and I was pregnant with this boy here. And I was really concerned because it was getting worse and worse and worse to the point of like, I'm sweeping out my house, and I had a tiny house at that time. And just sweeping the front of the house, it would take me 2 or 3 times standing up and sweeping and sitting down to rest because my heart was doing weird things and I was breathing strangely and I'd get dizzy. And that wasn't usually how I was. So I was causing frustration because the doctors kept saying I wasn't sick. So I would come home and Albert would be like, well, you just don't want to work on the house or what? Like, he wasn't being mean, but he didn't know me as well yet. I didn't know him as well yet. We were just married several months before that, pregnant with our first child, and we were learning each other. So he was like, okay, I don't know, because doctors keep saying you're not sick, but then my temperature kept going higher. And one day, they took me into town to a private hospital, and my malaria at that point was 2,800 parasites per 200 blood cells. So it was incredibly high. The doctor looked at me and he looked like I shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
He looked at me and he said, I've been practicing for 40 years and I've only seen 2 people with malaria this high, you and one other person. And he treated me for a week. And after a week of treatment, he still sent me to a private hospital to get more help because my pulse was disappearing and he was afraid I was going to die. So they saved me. They saved Zachariah. And thanks to prayer, like different problems that were in my body, they were concerned that he wouldn't even survive. There wasn't enough amniotic fluid and stuff. But there were miracles that happened throughout the time we were praying for miracles to happen, and they did. And yeah, it was. I can say I've never been to a hospital in Nairobi, so I can't speak for all of Kenya or something.
Yeah.
But I can say that it's very difficult to find anything that measures up to the level of medical knowledge that I've seen in the West here in Bungoma. It's not that you don't have good doctors here. It's not just a village thing. But it's not that there's not good doctors, and I mean nothing against the medical profession as a whole out here. There's people that do have a lot of knowledge. But I've seen a lot of inconsistency with treatments. I've seen a lot of inconsistency with what doctors know. Even at some of the private hospitals, I've been told, oh, typhoid doesn't exist in Kenya. When I had just been treated for typhoid that I had been tested, they just thought I was lying. I don't know. Typhoid doesn't exist. It definitely exists. Because a couple weeks after that, there were government researchers who came around here asking about all of the typhoid cases that had been here recently. I think there's just lack of communication and inconsistency. If that was fixed, I think that we'd have a lot better medical care here.
Wow. Okay, maybe on that one, last question before like I ask you what you do about your ministry. About schools, do you have like schools around here where your kids go to, or they haven't started schooling yet? Or
I have one child who's in school. Last year we started her at a local school, but she was getting bullied and beat up because her mom is white. So there's older boys who were there, and they were all surrounding her and like pushing her around and beating her up. They tore her shoes several times. Like, we would get the shoes repaired and they would go and tear them up again as soon as we got her back there. She was being so bullied, and we went to the school about it and told the school about it, and they basically just kind of shrugged it off like, oh no, that must not be happening. And so since we weren't taken seriously, we had to look for something alternatively, because she was not learning. When you're in that environment and you're always worried about what could be coming at you and what danger you might be in, you're not at rest to be able to learn. So she was having a lot of trouble learning. So I have 4 degrees from an American university, and I was homeschooled as a child. I know a lot of people here in the village areas aren't familiar with homeschooling, but it is legal in Kenya. You're supposed to use a good curriculum, but it's actually legal here in Kenya to school based on American curriculum or UK curriculum. You don't have to do just the CBC. As long as you're testing according to that country's guidelines, and it's an acceptable country to test in, you're able to do that. So what I'm doing is I'm actually meeting all the CBC requirements, plus I'm teaching the American curriculum. So she's a little bit ahead of where she would be in a typical PP2 class, which is her level. Right now, she's reading, she's writing, she knows all of her letters and numbers very well. She's doing addition and subtraction. And then she's doing other things that are like standard 1, like environmental studies. I have science courses, which don't usually start here, from my understanding, until standard 4. But in America, we start standard 1 for science. So I've started science already, and she loves science. She's thriving in it. So we do the agricultural studies, which is great because we're on a farm. So she's around all the animals, and she gets to learn about them every single day as well. And then I get, although they're outside and doing exercise all the time, I do specific classes. Like, we're doing a ballet class on YouTube right now. So we go to YouTube and we go through these beginners ballet classes and do all the exercises and learn ballet. And then next year it might be tap dancing or something else. We're like trying to mix up the different things she's exposed to and learning, but also making sure that we're working with people back home who set standards for how the schooling is supposed to go. So she's able to test at or above where she's supposed to be testing. And it is official school according to the Kenyan system, but a lot of people out in these areas aren't familiar with that type of schooling. But yeah, I don't want to send her back into that, the way she was being treated. It's a great school. It's a really great school, and I know that the teachers are great teachers, but for her, the environment wasn't conducive to her learning. Yeah.
Wow, that is very, very interesting, Kare. And I just wanted, like, when you started the video, you said like you came in as a missionary. So maybe I wanted to know, like, maybe if you can tell us something about your mission, about what you do, about your missionary work, what you do, you know?
All right.
Yeah. As we wind up.
Albert and I both work together in ministry. So we have our own ministry, which has launched this year under the ministry of my mom. So my mom has a ministry called God's Heart Ministries here in Kenya. It's part of God's Heart Church internationally. She's based in America. And originally, when I came out, I was working with her to support her mission. Her mission is to the church, about the end times and the rapture, teaching and preparing the church and equipping them for the end times. My calling is more of an outreach and evangelism calling. So we do a lot of charity work whenever we have the ability to. We have a Seeds for Change program that we go out into the community and we find people who don't have enough money to plant their own land. Most people around here have land, but some of them don't even have money for seeds or for fertilizer, and their families go hungry because they don't have money to go out and get food either. So we were giving out a lot of bags of food to widows and orphans and needy families, and we found it very cost ineffective. So we would be able to give out like maybe once a month or once every couple of months a large amount of food, but it would be used up within a few days or a week with those families, and they would just remain hungry and we wouldn't have more to provide them. So we started doing a seeds program this last several months, and we gave out our first bags of seeds kind of as a trial program to see how it goes. And all the people that we gave seeds to are eating their food now. They're very happy with the program. We gave out djembes and fertilizer, greens, beans, and maize. And I think that's it, right? Yeah, for greens, for sukuma, and kunde and managu. And so that can help supplement. Not only do you have your maize and your beans to make githeri and ugali, but you have the greens to cook with the meals to make, a vegetable to eat. And so it gives like the basics of the Kenyan diet to them for a certain amount of time. And it's worked out so well that we're really wanting to expand that program now. That's one of the things. We have a lot of other programs that we're running, like one-on-one. There are a lot of people this last year that we were able to sponsor for school, although that's not an official ongoing thing all the time. When we have the ability to do that, we do it. But it's not something that we just have a fund for so that we can just be like, oh yeah, anyone who applies, here's help, here's help, here's help. It's something that we selectively have the ability to help with. We've helped orphans. We've helped in job training for like some older orphan boys who are too old to go back to school. I mean, they could, but they're not going to. So we've helped like train them on how to do different jobs around how to manage their life. Albert's been a real mentor to a lot of them, trying to build up a better way of living, better standards of living. And God's really called us into ministry to young men of that type. So we've worked with a lot of young men over the last several years, one-on-one, where Albert's been able to mentor them, and I've just kind of been there to support. But now we have a football team, and it's called the Nyangali Prayer Warriors. Eventually we'll be officially registered in the Bungoma Premier League, but right now it takes a little bit more. We'll have to have another set of uniforms, some more football boots, and the ability to travel every single weekend. But basically it's a mentorship program. Every single day it keeps these guys busy with something outside of getting into trouble. So these kids who used to just go out and drink or used to go out and even take drugs, now they're involved in this program. They're not allowed to drink. They're not allowed to take drugs. They have to be a profitable member of the community in order to be part of the program. And they're offered mentorship and character building throughout the program, so that it's not just, hey, go and play football. It's a place where they can go, they can learn to be better community members, better human beings, better men, and they're encouraged on how to take care of that position in society. And at the same time, they're able to be part of a team and become fitter and learn to work with each other. We've seen that that's been one big thing, right, with the team, where the boys, like the young men and the boys that work, a lot of times are really good at doing things independently, but they don't like working together with a team, and it can actually spark conflict. So one of the things Albert's been teaching them is how to work together with other people, how to overcome conflict in the right way. And it's been a great tool. It started last December. This last December. So since then we've been able to get one set of uniforms, 6 balls, which are almost all broken right now. And this time that we got this most recent donation, we went out and got 10 more pairs of football boots, which we'll be giving out on Sunday. for the team to work with in their games. So we also got a medical kit so that if they have injuries, we can treat like small injuries, muscle rub and Brofen and different braces for problems. So we're happy with that one. Eventually, we'll have a school. We'll have a missions training program. Like, this is way in the future. I don't even have the buildings for this yet. And we want to be self-sustainable. So this building that you see over here is a chicken project. Even though we don't have the chickens for it right now, we're building it so that we can have a chicken project to help sustain the ministry. So we have a little bit of income coming in to pay for more of the programs. We got land more recently, and we're going to eventually build a community center where we can do tutoring for kids. And the homeschooling that I'm doing for the kids, we want to turn into an actual academy. Instead of just doing our kids, we want to have an academy where we can have paid teachers teaching this curriculum that's like a CBC/American Studies program, so that they can be qualified to either go to any Kenyan university or be qualified to apply for an American university one day. We'd like to eventually have an academy that our hope is can be the best in the area. But I mean, anyone who establishes an academy says that, right? Like, that's anyone's dream is to make it the best one that it can be.
Yeah.
At least I hope that's the dream of anyone who wants to go into education.
Wow, that is so good. Thank you so much, Kare. And in case, like, maybe someone is watching this video, and how can someone support in this ministry? Like, yeah, your ministry. How do you get the support? Like, how can someone support? How can someone the channel to?
The most common one, I can give you the link if you want it, to post it underneath. But the most common way is our website. I'm working on redeveloping a new one because it's not letting me on ever since it decided not to go with Kenyan numbers. But I have a website with a donation page. It's carryjoy.weebly.com. And then it's a donate page on there. I have it also linked on my YouTube channel. So if someone was to find us on YouTube, the Wanyonyi family, they can, underneath any of my videos, find that link to go and donate. There's also a contact us on that website, so if anyone wanted to write in, they'd be able to get me by email there. And then I could discuss with them any other types. We have Venmo available. We have, what is it called? Cash App back in the US. And then people who are in the US could always send a check to our ministry office, but I know checks aren't really a big thing nowadays. So if anyone wanted to do those types of things, they could always contact me on the website and I can help them through it as well.
Okay. So we are going to end the video, like a parting shot from you and from him. Like what? Generally, this is just something generally to end the video.
I'll go first. I've done a lot of talking. I do. But she had more questions for me than you. Okay, fine. I know I'm supposed to say goodbye, but since this whole relationship thing, I just wanted to encourage anybody that when you're dealing with guys, I think when you're dealing with both people, treat somebody like they are the person that you want them to be. Women, I can speak because I'm a woman, we have a really good way. God made us so that we can see that the things that need to change about different situations so that we can work on those things. But one thing we have to be really careful of as women is not constantly pointing those things out to people. We do have to speak in love, and once in a while we can encourage others to step up into that, but we need to make sure it feels encouraging to the other person. It's not tearing them down. It's not making them feel like you're not enough because you're not doing this and you're not doing that. If you speak well of your husband will step up into the way you're speaking about him. And usually, guys, I can say, when you speak up to your wife, they will also step up into that way that you're speaking of them. The more you speak negatively about another person, the more it causes them to not have that motivation inside to even become the person that you're hoping they will be. So just speak well of everyone in your life. Speak well of your spouse. Speak well of your children. Speak well of the people around you. And let them rise to the occasion. Because people have a way of doing just that. We don't have the desire inside to just disappoint others. We want to do well. And we want to be a better person than we were yesterday. So don't hold things against people. Live in forgiveness. And live in grace toward others, and you'll see that people rise up to be their best selves when they're around you. For me, blessings, and thank you for this chance and opportunity. Now you say something.
Oh. Thank you. Nitashukuru. Unajua friendship ni kitu yenye yani mtu hawezi chukulia hivi hivi. Inatoka kwa roho by the way. Mimi naambia tu wenzangu yeyote mwenye anaochi. Penda tu. Siangalia mabaya na mazuri. Uone tena kesho yako mambo yaendi vile wewe uko unafikiria, alafu useme labda sio chakula langu. Kila kitu inaendana na roho yako. Uamuzi ni kwako.
And you have a YouTube channel?
Yes.
Of you?
Yeah.
What's the name of your channel?
The Wanyonyi family.
Yeah.
I'll link it in the top comment.
Thank
So
you.
that's it. Bye.
Bye.